Residents of Block 506 Hougang Avenue 8 are being tested for Covid-19 again after having gone through the same exercise 2 weeks ago. This comes after 30 new cases were confirmed to be linked to the block. 7 other blocks are also involved in this major swabbing drive, possibly making it the largest of its kind here to date. The test is mandatory for residents and visitors of Block 506, as well as shop employees in 7 neighbouring blocks 511, 681 to 685 and 698. Testing for this group is being carried out at the void deck of Block 507. When our colleagues were there this morning, more than 70 people were waiting to get tested.
This is the second time doing it.
The process was totally fine. I'm used to the feeling of getting swabbed.
Second time, I feel normal. The first time was a bit scary, but second time, normal.
Today is a bit crowded compared to the 506 that day. Maybe the instruction to the hawkers at them not clear to go to the other part of the, there's another swab station in the open air on there. So maybe if they were told to go there, then on here will be less.
Actually, it's not a hassle at all. It's actually better because it's a precaution. It's a precautionary measure. So I don't have school today, so I'm actually free.
It's just a precautions for this COVID. In this situation, I think is necessary .
It's quite worrying because I'm pity the old age, all the disabled people at the home and there, right? I think it's quite scary for them . But for our residents, I think it's still take care of yourself . I don't feel scared because I know, this is your self-safety, so you must take care of yourself, right? If you take care of yourself and make sure that you follow everything, wear mask, everything, I think it's okay .
To be honest, my family is scared. So we take precaution measures. We don't really go out there often. We only go out to maybe buy groceries or buy food.
I think everyone need to do their parts to stay at home if needed. Don't go wandering around. If you can order food delivery, just order food delivery .
Meanwhile, residents of the 7 neighbouring blocks can choose to get tested. Visitors to these 7 blocks between May 19th and yesterday can do the same. While testing isn't compulsory for these groups, they are encouraged to get swabbed, which they can do between today and June 17th at the HDB Pavilion at Block 685A. MP for Ang Mo Kio GRC Daryl David was at the site this morning.
The site behind here is actually the COVID swabbing center that was set up by the MOH. The aim is to provide a site location for our residents to do their swabbing on a voluntary basis, of course, should they feel the need to do so. Last night, I actually went to help do a door drop. A door drop means we actually put in these pamphlets to our residents to encourage them, to explain to them what's happening, to let them know nothing to worry about. But if they would like to, if they are concerned about helping to keep the environment safe, they can come on down here to do a swab testing for themselves.
I'm happy to welcome Professor Paul Tambyah. He's a senior consultant in the Division of Infectious Diseases at NUH. Welcome, Professor. Professor, is the large-scale nature of this round of testing concerning, or does it indicate that our approach is different now in a more leave no stone unturned direction?
Well, to me, what is actually more concerning is the fact that we're still finding cases. Because, when we found the first few cases, they were put in isolation and their close contacts were put in quarantine. But the fact that the wastewater surveillance is still detecting cases indicates that there may be some hidden cases. And it's good that we're picking them up through this large-scale testing and surveillance. So, what is good about this whole episode is it shows that wastewater surveillance works. So if wastewater surveillance works, then we've got to make sure that we, in a way, as you said, leave no stone unturned, find all the hidden cases. That is, unless, the wastewater surveillance is too sensitive and maybe it's picking up some leftover wastewater due to some issues with the plumbing.
Right. So in the event, Professor, what is the likelihood of the second occurrence, like you mentioned, the remaining fragments that are left in the piping system?
Yeah, in general, after a period of time, when you flush through the piping system, there should not be any more, viruses left in there, because these viruses don't survive very long under the conditions that the sewage is kept. And there's lots of other, bacteria and viruses within the sewage itself. And this is a tried and true method. It's been used in Australia and Germany. And in fact, in Australia, that's how they identified the occasional cases of COVID-19. And this wastewater surveillance has even been used in Africa when they're trying to pick out polio cases. And what they do is they keep doing the surveillance, keep looking at the villages, try and find the polio cases. And then they do the surveillance until the surveillance is negative, and then they can breathe a sigh of relief.
Right. Professor, help us understand what are the likely ways of transmission in an HDB block and surrounding areas now, given that we are 3 weeks into heightened alert measures with minimal socializing and communal activities and even no dining in as well?
Well, paradoxically, when we're in this heightened alert condition, where we can't go to the coffee shop and hang out or the hawker center, then we're more likely to spend more time at home, in our homes or in the void decks. And the most likely mode of transmission is through close contact in a lift or maybe in a stairwell when you're walking up and down and you bump into your neighbor. Now, there are other less likely modes of transmission. And the one I think that everyone is really concerned about is what happened in the Amoy Gardens in Hong Kong in 2003 during the original SARS outbreak, where you had multiple units, a couple of hundred individuals in 4 closely related blocks who ended up getting infected. And that was due to some backflow in the sewage. Now, at the time, we were reassured that because in Singapore toilets, they have this J-trap. So it's very unlikely that that kind of thing will happen. But the trouble is every now and again, your neighbor downstairs is doing some illegal modification of the plumbing. And so it's critically important that these things are scrutinized and evaluated to make sure that this unusual mode of transmission doesn't occur.
Professor, like you mentioned earlier on regarding the hidden cases, now do you think the Hougang mass testing as well as the COVID-19 task force's concern about hidden cases will have any bearing to how we proceed after June 13th when the heightened alert period is supposed to end?
Well, paradoxically, the restrictions, actually, as I mentioned, tend to keep people at home. And if hidden cases are leading to transmission in HDB blocks, it doesn't make sense to keep people at home. What we should focus on then is the increased vaccination. Make sure that everybody gets vaccinated. Maybe if you get 1 or 2 cases in a block, you vaccinate everybody in the block. You let them jump the queue. Because, they do that for mumps outbreaks in US college campuses. So I think, I hope rather that we're not going to get increased restrictions, but rather we're getting a more targeted approach, regardless of what comes out from the screening in these HDB blocks in Hougang and Yishun.